Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this presentation with PayFlex on Katie Beckett Part B. We are so glad you are here. My name is Hra Funds. I am the Assistant Commissioner for Communications and External Affairs for DIDD. And we are joined by some of our folks on the Katie Beckett team, who I will introduce in just a little while, along with Hra Funds from PayFlex to help us walk through some of the ways how to use PayFlex and some of the questions you all have. Couple of things to note, housekeeping items. I know a lot of us are getting used to doing these virtual meetings, but this event format, if you are an attendee, you are automatically muted. So you will not see a mute button by your name, but rest assured, nobody can hear you unless you are a panelist. So, that is how we are able to make sure that we can answer all of the questions that you all have. One other thing I wanted to mention is that we received many questions, and if we do not have time to answer all of the questions, we are going to take them away, and we're going to do our best to make sure that you all get the answers that you guys came here to find. And we're hoping that we are able to provide you with some clarification about how to use the HRA account, which is the most heavily used part of Katie Beckett Part B. But before I go any further, I'm going to actually turn it over to Commissioner Brad Turner. He is the Commissioner for the Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, and he is going to give us a few words to start this off. Commissioner, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi, Hra. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate you guys taking some time out of a busy schedule. I know there's a lot of bus routes and a lot of children being in school, but this is important. I appreciate you being able to work around your own schedule to join us because I'm really excited about what's happening and what's going on with Katie Beckett program. So as Hra alluded to earlier, I'm the commissioner of the department, but some of you know most importantly that I'm the father of Kinsley, who is 14 years old and has cerebral palsy and intellectual developmental disabilities. So first and foremost, I'm a parent and have a unique viewpoint into what our community struggles with and some of the challenges that we run into, both around questions and accessibilities and things that the government doesn't know about our own families and how the program needs to be incorporated in different communities so it can help serve our families better. And I want you to know that that's how we approach this every day, is figuring out how do we make this program be as effective and as efficient as we can to make sure that it's meeting the needs of the parents and of Tennesseans across the state that are inside the Katie Beckett waiver. So Hra is part of that. With our communications team, we've obviously had a lot of meetings around that and sharing information about the program. But your feedback is important. It's imperative that we hear from you about some of the challenges, good things that are happening, and some of the bad things that are happening so we can make those types of adjustments. So I want you to know and hear me when I say this from the bottom of my heart that you've got no stronger advocate in this seat than me because I know what it's like, and I live the same life, and I walk some of the same challenges that you walk as parents. And hopefully this Katie Beckett program and the waiver itself will make our lives a little bit easier in areas that our friends and their family and their children sometimes don't even give it a second thought about some of the difficulties and things that we might need help with. So as we're walking through this program, I want to first say thank you to the case managers that work inside DIDD and TennCare around the Katie Beckett program. They deal with a lot too, and they work with families. They make sure that they provide the answers and some of the challenging questions that you've got. So I want to thank them for what they're doing, and I ask for a little bit of grace when you're working with them because this is still brand new. There's a lot of things that we're still working through, figuring out what looks the right way, what acts the right way, and what's the best way to implement the program across the state. And this is all part of it. So these communications that we're having on the WebEx are all part of what we want to do to make sure that we're the most efficient and the best run Katie Beckett waiver in the country. And at the end of the day, it's really about serving children and making sure that your needs are being met as parents and creating ways for not only our children to thrive, but us as families to thrive too, because there's help with the Katie Beckett waiver. So we're always going to be here to answer questions. We always want to make sure that we build and continue to form a really good relationship with you as parents and inside our community. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us if there are concerns that you've got, if there are things that you're seeing that you don't understand. Make sure that you reach out to us because it's important to me personally that you feel this program is worth you investing in and that your tax dollars are going to good use with the Katie Beckett waiver. So really excited to be here. I appreciate Hra giving me some time to speak to you guys today, and thanks for your questions. Thanks, Hra.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for joining us today. Next, I'm going to turn it over to our Deputy Director of Intake and Case Management, Bo Hickman. He has been working tirelessly on this program for 2 years. And just to give us a little bit of insight from his end, and then we'll get to the presentation. Bo, good afternoon.
Hey, thanks, Kara. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really hard to follow Commissioner because he's a commissioner and he's a dad, so really he's got the total package going. Difficult to follow that, but I echo exactly what he said about the program. You know, this is Health Reimbursement Accounting is a brand new service, one that's not available to our knowledge across the country. We built the benefit based on the flexible spending benefits that many employers utilize. Many of you may already have that on the employee side of a company. So we built that to follow that model based on the information we had at the time. Frankly, this part of the service and all the services that we provide in the Katie Beckett program went through a rigorous review by the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. It's something that every waiver is required to do. It was approved in whole by the federal government. With that approval comes very specific requirements that must be followed up until the time that we can get those changed. And we can get those changed where they're needed. It just takes a minute to do that and takes some submissions from TennCare in coordination with us to do that. We committed early on to parents and stakeholders that we would use program experience to make the program better. We'll modify it where we need to. We're committed to do that moving forward. We appreciate the work we've had together so far and look forward to more successes moving forward. Thank you, Kara.
Thank you so much, Bo. Okay, now we're going to get to the presentation part of this program. We have Hra Funds with PayFlex, and she's going to be walking us through a presentation and some information, and then we're going to get to some of the questions that were pre-submitted, which we did have a lot of. And like I said, if we don't get all the way through that in the time we have allotted, we will follow up and make sure that you guys are able to view some of the answers to these questions. All right, Hra, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take it away. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Something that you're very interested in. So I'll let you take over the screen and the microphone.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining the call today. I am the Senior Account Manager at PayFlex, and we're very honored to partnership with the state of Tennessee on administrating the Katie Beckett program. So I'm just going to go over, just to give you a quick overview, the member website. And then what I will do is I will do a demo of the site that you log in as a parent. And then I will do a live demo also of our PayFlex website to show you where we have the listing of eligible items. And then we'll try to go over as many of the questions and answers as possible. So just to confirm, Kara, can you confirm, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. It looks great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So the member website, just to go over the quick steps of how to go and log in, you would go into access the PayFlex website from www.payflex.com. Once you get to the PayFlex website, you will have to create your profile. So as a first-time user, you will have to click on that Create Your Profile link. Once you create on this profile link, it will ask you for your last name, your mailing address, your zip code. So first, the last name should be of the parent that the account is set up under. So I know first there's a child, but then there's also a parent linked to the account. So the last name should be of the parents and the mailing address of the parents. And then the ID number is actually the social security number, and then it's the last 4 digits of the disabled dependent child. So I think that's where we have a lot of confusion, but that's how we had to set it up. So one parent could have multiple children and have different accounts and different cards tied to them. So again, I'll just repeat it one more time. It's the parent's last name and mailing address, and then the last 4 digits of the social security number of the disabled dependent child. And then the date of birth is not required, so you can actually just skip it and submit. The red asterisks are the required fields. So then the next slide, you have to enter the last 8 digits of the card. So you can only register on the website once you have received the debit card. So make sure to, once you have the card, that's the last 4 digits are what you will enter in. And then it'll ask, the secure access feature will ask you for your email address and your phone number. Once you've done that, we do request a verification code because it is a secure website. We just want to make sure it is you that you're logging in. So then you can either ask them to email you, ask the site to either email you the code, or you can ask it to send it to you through your cell phone via text. Once you get the verification code, you can enter the verification code and hit submit. And then after that, you can create your username, password, security questions to log into the website. You will have to accept, just on the bottom of it, you can review and accept the online services agreement. And after that, you can also download our mobile app and you can use your same username and password that you've created here to access the site through your cell phone. And then once you get into the account, it should say welcome, and it should say your name, and it should say your account is ready to go. So before our presentation, I did get some key items that we wanted to discuss. Again, I spoke about this earlier, but I just want to reiterate, when registering for the website, please use the last four of the Social Security of the dependent disabled child Social Security. On the PayFlex website, once you log in, it will say that you're, we administer employers and employees. So we had to work around and enter this program into our system. So it will say the employer is the state of Tennessee, Katie Beckett, Hra, and you as a parent would be listed as the employee on our portal. I just want to tell you the date of birth is not required to create the account, so make sure to skip that field because we are not populating the parent's date of birth in our accounts. If you have specific questions for the Katie Beckett program, the email address is stateoftennessee@payflex.com. And I personally handle that email box, and my goal is to turn around the questions within 24 hours. So that's the fastest way to access key items that you would need. Or if you have questions, I can definitely help you out directly if you send me an email in that mailbox. We have our customer service number, which is 800-284-4885. And for that, you would have to provide them your full name and your child's social security number for verification. If you're asked for the employer, please indicate Katie Beckett, Hra. And then if you have multiple children in the program and you want to know which card is linked to which dependent child, again, you can email at stateoftennessee@payflex.com. And then I'll be more than happy to provide all that detailed information to you. So at this time, I'm just going to pause really quickly and jump to the website and share that with you. So this is, can you see my screen at the same, can you see the screen where it says Healthcare Hra, Kara?
Yes, I can. And really quickly, I do see, hold on just a second, Hra. We do see the questions that are in chat. Yes, this presentation is being recorded and will be made available on the Katie Beckett web page, as well as the materials from this as well. So I just wanted to add that for folks who might be asking for a repeat of stuff, just to make sure that they know that this stuff will all be up as soon as we can get it up. Okay, Hra, continue.
Okay, thank you. So when you log in, it will say Healthcare Hra, and we have the 2021 plan year, and you can, some members joined really early, late December of last year, so you can actually go to the previous plan year too. And what it'll show you is your available funds for this year, your deposits, and how much you've used so far, and the contributions. It will also tell you the last date of file claims. There is a 90-day run out, so for the current plan year, you have 90 days to file those claims for the previous plan year. And then you can go, once you're in here, you can view your account details. Click on it real quick. So, and when you get to there, you can see again how much you've spent. Unfortunately, on our demo site, it doesn't show anybody with spent money, so it says $0 right now. But you can file a claim, link a bank account. I suggest you do link your bank account, because then once you file a claim, it's the fastest way to receive payment in your bank account, receive payment. The checks, you know, it's a check is cut and then it's up to the Postal Service how fast you receive your payment. But with the bank account, once we process the claim, we can submit it to your bank account within 3 to 4 business days. You can set up account notifications as well. So if you've used your card and you want to see the requested documentation that is needed, you can get it within your email and you don't have to receive it in the mail. So you can go paperless. You can also set up reminders for email and text to see what your balance is. Last day to file your claims. You can also get the same texts if your card documentation has been processed, your card has been used for payment. Let's go back to the main page. And then if you had, this member did submit a claim, so you can see the claims that you've submitted to date here as well. And if it was requested and still has not been processed, it would just say amount requested and then the paid is 0. So it says pending. It would be under the pending column. If there were claims that were paid, they would be under this column, and unpaid claims would be down here. With the program, you will have only one transaction, which will be the deposit of your funds from the Katie Beckett program. So that will be the only deposit that you'll have. It will be a one-time deposit for this year. If you had, if you started, let's say some people started December of 2020, they had a payment adjustment rollover in 2021 of the amount that was remaining. So that's what it would show in their accounts. Since it is a yearly program, so if their account started December 2020, it would end December 2021. So they wouldn't have the deposit contribution for this year. All it would show is the rollover amount. And then you could also file a claim from here as well if you wanted to. So then you would just go over the steps, you know, and indicate to the system what the claim is for. I know some of the questions that I had was, you know, if it's not one of these items, what should I pick? Pick medical, and then the system will, the claims area will be able to process the claim. But just make sure you submit a letter of medical necessity if it's for one of those items that are that do require a letter of necessity. I will go, okay. Do we have any questions, Kira, for the website right now?
We do have a few questions for the website, so I'm going to go ahead and ask those. There are two that say, in regards to the DOB portion of that, there is a red asterisk near that indicates that it's a required field, and just asking for some clarification on that.
Okay, so I'll have to take that as a takeaway. I thought that it was not required, so I'll double check.
Okay, and once we get the answer to that, we will add that to a questions FAQs documents and make sure that that is distributed to everyone. Looking to see, oh, and then somebody asked if we could repeat that PayFlex number again. But I think it's also important that it seems like the the state of Tennessee at payflex.com is the most direct way and quickest way to get an answer. So if you would like to share that information again, I think that would be helpful.
Sure. So it is the mailbox is state of Tennessee at payflex.com. And then the phone number is 1-800-284-4885. And as Kara indicated, the quickest way is state of Tennessee at payflex.com because I directly monitor that mailbox.
Okay, those are the questions that I saw that were related directly to the website and the portion of the presentation that you have given already. So I think at this point, we are ready to kind of start on the questions that were pre-submitted, which you have so graciously answered. So if you want to go ahead and we can start to work through that list.
Okay, Kara, I'm just going to go over a demo of the website really quick, the live website.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot about that portion, so go ahead.
Okay, so if you go on www.payflex.com and right when you get to the main screen, you should, I suggest you scroll all the way down and you will see a list of common healthcare expenses. So it's not everything, but it does list a lot of the items. And the way it's broken out is has 3 tabs. Sometimes people think it's 3 columns, but it's actually 3 tabs. So all of the items that are listed on the first tab to the left are eligible. So these are all your eligible items and you can click on it. Like if we were looking at fuel for medical care, you know, the cost and primarily for essential to Medicare is an eligible medical expense. It will tell you your mileage rate that's allowed for 2021 and the what is required. So it says in the middle, you must include documentation of the corresponding medical service with your request for reimbursement. Then the second tab in the middle has all the items that we can process and submit for reimbursement, but you need a letter of medical necessity from the physician's office or a certified doctor to indicate that it is required by the dependent for use. So if we clicked on baby formula, it says is an eligible medical expense, and the healthcare professional must provide evidence of medical necessity showing that the qualified employee's infant requires special dietary requirements and the reason for it. And the reimbursement on some of these items is calculated using a cost different method. So we would use the standard method, standard cost subtracted, and then pay for the cost of the special formula. And these all are, these requirements are all based on IRS guidelines of how to process reimbursements for the HRA accounts. The last column is the ineligible items. So then it tells what kind of items is not eligible. Something that we have here is, an operation for cosmetic reasons, and it would tell you that cosmetic surgery is not an eligible medical expense. Okay, now we can share is it okay, Kara, now if I go to the questions?
Let's go ahead and start on the questions. Great.
Okay. So go ahead, you can read it and then I'll answer it.
So the first question is who has to write the medical necessity forms for HRA? Does it have to be a doctor or can a therapist write it? For example, my son will be getting orthotics. Can his physical therapist write the form or does it have to be his pediatrician? Or would the company that is actually fitting and giving the orthotics write the medical necessity form? So Hra, if you want to answer this question, I know that many of the people who are on can see the screen, but we have many people who have called in, so we want to make sure they hear the answer to the question as well.
Sure. The medical necessity form has to be written by a doctor, so by the pediatrician would be recommended to have the letter of medical necessity from them.
Okay, our next question is I have a question about a bathroom modification. We are redoing our guest bathroom to make it more accessible for our son. He has a chromosome abnormality, which makes him have low muscle tone, heart conditions, developmental delay, etc. We are having a contractor come in and do the work, and plan to pay for some of it with PayFlex. The plumber is going to move pipes and construct a curbless shower, and there will be a bench, rails, and non-slip grout on the tiles. My question is how do I go about getting PayFlex to reimburse me? Or if I use my card, what do I need to include on the letter of medical necessity so they know this isn't a cosmetic update? Hra.
A healthcare professional must provide evidence of medical necessity for the cost of home improvement to be an eligible medical expense. So you must include a doctor's note or letter of medical necessity with your request for reimbursement. The doctor's note or letter of medical necessity must specifically identify that the recommendation and expense is for treatment of the medical condition. And then if the expense is a permanent improvement that increases the value of the property, the excess value is not reimbursable. But in this case, I think you would just submit the letter of medical necessity with your doctor's note. And after this, I'll also share the letter of medical necessity form so you can share it with your participants.
Great, that would be excellent. Thank you. My mother is a caregiver 2 days a week for my son so I can work. Can I pay her with Katie Beckett waiver money? Does she need to complete some training? And if so, what trainings?
So for a disabled dependent, a healthcare professional must provide evidence of medical necessity for the cost of care. So you must include a doctor's note or letter of medical necessity with your request for reimbursement. The doctor's note or letter of medical necessity must specifically identify that the reimbursement and expense is for treatment of the medical condition. Your mother can be paid with the Katie Beckett waiver funds. You'll just have to submit a claim for her to get reimbursed, and she does not need to receive any training. So the claim form with your mother's payment request, in addition to the letter of medical necessity or the doctor's note indicating that the child needs care because they're disabled, is sufficient for reimbursement.
Great. So the next question is trying to activate the card over the phone. After I put in the credit card number, it asks for the last 4 digits of my member number. What is my member number and where can I find it? Here.
The last 4 digits of the member number are the last 4 digits of the Social Security number of your dependent child that is tied to the account.
Great. So the next question is my question relates, what forms are required for reimbursement of expenses for things that were discussed and okayed for HRA in the ISP, the individual support plan, but where a card is not an accepted form of payment? If forms need to be filled out and submitted, how exactly is this done? Where are the forms? How soon after the expenses incurred can we submit? And where do we submit them for reimbursement against the HRA?
So you can submit the forms online on the portal through the portal that we went over, or through the mobile app, or mail the forms in. So I'll actually share the form with you too, Kara. I think I've shared some with some of the case managers, but I'll send the form to you with the letter of medical necessity, and you can send it out with the presentation. On the form itself, it does have the mailing address, so you can send it on that mailing to that mailing address. You can submit the form as soon as the claim is incurred. However, if your claim has to wait for insurance to go through, then I would suggest you wait for the insurance to process so you can see what your out-of-pocket expense is, and then submit that with the explanation of benefit prior to submitting your claim request for reimbursement.
Great. Next question. I was wondering how long it typically takes for a reimbursement request to be approved when submitted to PayFlex.
The reimbursement process takes 7 to 10 business days for a claim when submitted.
And then the next question was about Respite, and we actually got several questions about Respite. So this one was, do we submit a reimbursement for Respite, or does PayFlex pay the individual?
If you send us a request for reimbursement, we will pay you, and then you can pay the individual beforehand or afterwards. And I checked out our records, and Respite is actually considered the same as dependent child care.
Great, that's helpful. How do we use PayFlex for Respite? Do we need a letter from our doctor? What documentation does PayFlex need when filing the claim? And do we pay the respite worker out of pocket and get reimbursed from PayFlex? So once again, that similar question.
Yeah, so again, you'll need the letter of medical necessity for respite care. We just need the letter of medical necessity and the claim form. You have to pay the respite worker and then get reimbursed from PayFlex. And again, it's the same guidelines as the care where somebody asked if their mother was watching the child. It is a healthcare professional must provide evidence of medical necessity, and then we can submit payment back to you, and then you can pay the provider.
Okay, the next question is when I first made the decision of how to split the $10,000 budget, we had chosen to not do self-directed care and have KB find and work with an agency. When our caseworker called and said she could not find an agency in our area with personnel to work with children and asked if I wanted funds moved to the self-directed, I said yes. I honestly thought self-directed meant HSA card. Is there any way to change the amount and move more for the PayFlex card? Here, I see that you say, I'm not sure how to answer this, but I think that Bo Hickman might be able to provide some insight on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and so really the issue is, this comes back to something I was talking about earlier, which was the federal regs on what we submitted to them. And so along with your employer health savings accounts, it's the same thing. You have it's a one time a year allocation where you identify the amount of money you want to go into that account, and it's not allowed. It can't be changed under the rules. And so this is one of those things we may take a look at later and petition back to CMS, the federal government, to see if there's anything we can do about this. We're not able to do that right now. So right now, the money is effective during your ISP plan year. Hra?
Thanks a lot, Bo. Okay, so next question is what types of purchases are allowed on the HRA? For example, one of my daughter's diagnosis is epilepsy. Would my HRA purchases only be allowed for epilepsy-type treatment, or can I buy other typically allowed HRA items, such as a first aid kit, feminine products, a humidifier, etc., not directly related to the diagnosis? Hra.
Yeah, so yes, you can buy feminine products, and first aid kit humidifier is covered as well. And you can find a complete list of the eligible items on payflex.com. So those eligible items are not tied to diagnoses. They are just eligible for reimbursement. And you can also look at the second tab, which is the letter of medical necessity required, and those you can receive reimbursements as well, as long as they're eligible under the program. Again, you don't need to, it's not tied to the diagnosis itself. It's just tied to it being eligible or not eligible.
Okay, next question. Does Katie Beckett B HRA benefit retro pay? And if so, how far back? So can things be paid retroactively? So Hra, I think you have an answer to this question.
Yes, so we can pay retro, but it has to be retro to your effective date with the program. So let's say if you were effective 1/1/2021 and it's March now and you remembered, oh, I had this claim from February that I never submitted, you can submit it to us and we'll reimburse it. You just have 12 months. You have 12 months from your effective date to incur the claims, and then you have 30 days after your last date of that year to submit claims. So if somebody we can take, if somebody started December 1st of 2020, they have to use those funds, they have November 30th. They have to incur all the claims by November 30th of 2021, and they have 3 months, 90 days after that to submit them for reimbursement.
Awesome, thank you very much. Does PayFlex earn interest off of the HRA funds?
So PayFlex does not earn interest off the HRA funds. How we administer is we only request funds from the state of Tennessee as we pay out claims. So we're not holding the funds in our area. We only ask for payment as claims are paid.
So the next question is many families are being denied claims for respite. Please describe exactly what families need to submit for respite reimbursement and examples as well.
So again, for a respite, we would need a letter of medical necessity or a doctor's note indicating that the care is required because the dependent is disabled. And that's what we would need to get reimbursement.
Great. Next question was, does the HRA cover assistive devices for communication? Hra?
So we're researching this information. We'll provide that answer as a takeaway.
And then we're also going to be researching this answer as well. Does HRA cover software for communication assistive devices? If so, there is additional documentation needed for assistive devices communication. This is a similar answer, right, Hra?
Yes, it is. So we are researching this, and we'll provide an answer as a takeaway.
Okay, for where we're looking for some research, we will do our best to get this answered as quickly as we can. When using the HRA debit card, is there a daily limit? Hra?
Yep, so the daily limit is $2,650.
Okay, our next question is our son is a full-time wheelchair user with a strong upper body at age 12 and needs and wants more independence. We would like to convert his bathtub shower unit into a roll-in shower to prevent falls and injuries since his legs get tangled in the tight area. Would the tile shower increase the value of our home? Does this fall under home improvement or preventative care? Hra?
So this does fall under the home improvement category. And again, a healthcare professional must provide evidence of medical necessity for the cost of the home improvement to be an eligible medical expense. It must come with the reimbursement request must include a doctor's note or a letter of medical necessity with your request, and the doctor's note or the letter of medical necessity must specifically identify that the recommendation expense is treatment of the medical condition. And if it is a permanent improvement, it might increase the value of your property, but I would suggest you can go on irs.gov to check how much of the property value it would increase.
This is part of that question is we would need to hire a contract to complete this job from beginning to end. Would his labor and all materials with a quote submitted and letter of medical necessity from his doctor be covered in Part B?
So again, it's the same guidelines. The healthcare professional must provide the evidence of medical necessity. You wouldn't be able to use your card to pay the contractor, so you would have to pay with your personal form of payment and then request reimbursement online or through the form.
Okay, the next question is the contractor is unable to take credit card but could take PayPal. Would I be able to add this credit card into PayPal and use it for medical expenses?
You cannot add the HRA card to PayPal, unfortunately, because we won't be able to restrict what kind of payments are being issued. So that's why it's not. Our card identifies merchants as, a medical merchant, a dental merchant, and a vision merchant. With PayPal, we won't be able to identify it, so it would just get denied even if you uploaded it.
Okay, another expense we would like to have covered would be a chair, height, toilet, and bidet toilet seat for his independence and self-care. Can I purchase these items at any store online or local and submit the receipts?
Yes, you can submit them for reimbursement as adaptive equipment, but make sure you submit a claim form as well. Sometimes if you just submit a receipt, all the time, if you just submit a receipt, you will not get reimbursed. You need to have a claim form if you're submitting it by mail. If you're submitting online through the portal, you can just submit the receipt.
Okay, is the toilet considered adaptive equipment or a home improvement? I'm assuming the bidet would be adaptive equipment, and you can follow up on this.
Yep, the chair height, toilet, and the bidet would both be considered as adaptive equipment.
Okay, the door to his bathroom is also needing to be removed and made a barn door for easier access for him to be able to close his door without getting stuck. If we make the door ourselves, can we submit receipts for lumber and hardware? Or if we decide to purchase a pre-made barn door, have this receipt submitted?
So this also falls under the home improvement category. A healthcare professional must provide evidence of medical necessity for the cost of home improvement to be an eligible expense. You must include a doctor's note or a letter of medical necessity with your request for reimbursement. And then the doctor's note must specifically identify that the recommendation and expense is a treatment of the medical condition.
Great. And then is it possible to get a list of what qualifies or a guideline that we can take into consideration when determining how much to place in the account?
So a complete list of the eligible items can be found on www.payflex.com.
Okay, so these are all of the questions that we had. We did get some questions submitted today. I'm going to go through some of those questions as well to see whether or not we can answer those. I see some questions in the chat as well. So Hra, if you have to take any of these questions that we got today, let me know. But the first one, I see it in chat a couple of times, and we got the question a couple of times today are, when can a family expect to receive the card, and who or where will it come from?
So once we get the enrollment from our administrators at Katie Beckett, we issue the card within 3 business days, and then it comes in a white envelope because we don't want anybody to just steal your mail. So it comes in a plain white envelope, and in there is the card, and it's usually assigned to the parent that's the primary applicant of the Katie Beckett program.
Great. Let me go down and get some more questions. Okay. What repayment options are available? A mailed check or direct deposit?
Both of them are available.
Okay. Let's see. We've already asked the respite question. So one question we had when it came to using the HRA for home modifications, it says if the cost of the entire modification exceeds the amount maximum of $10,000, can we still do the modification and make up the difference?
So that would be, we wouldn't be able to use the card, so you would have to pay out of pocket initially anyways, and then you can submit for reimbursement from the Katie Beckett program, and then we can reimburse you as long as you have the letter of medical necessity. But yes, you can pay as much as you want out of pocket.
And then the next question is what happens if all the money is not expended by the end of the calendar year, or if a medical invoice comes in after the year has ended, but you intended to use PayFlex to cover it?
So you do have 90 days after after your plan year to submit for reimbursement, but after that, the funds are no longer available. And Bo, can you confirm that?
I'm sorry, did you say 90 days, Hra?
Yeah, after the member has, their whole year, a whole year, and then after that, we have a 90-day run out to allow them to submit any claims that they might have received at the end. But after that, the funds don't roll over or anything like that, right? They're exhausted.
That's correct. They don't roll over, but at the same time, you'll be having another ISP with your circle of support, putting together another plan for the plan year, identifying how much of the $10,000 you want to go towards the next year. So really, it doesn't roll over from last year, but you get a whole new amount the next year. Hra?
Okay, I am going to now, those are all the questions we had that were pre-submitted. So I'm going to start going through the chat box So, first of all, a question, and this one's probably for Bo, and it's about the HRA funds and whether or not the HRA funds roll over from year to year in this program. Can you answer this question?
Yes, back to the earlier conversation we just had with Hra. They don't roll over from year to year. you have an opportunity to spend the amount that you identified for the current plan year, and I'm talking about an ISP plan year. You'll do another ISP at the end of next year. You'll identify the amount for the following year. It doesn't roll over from year to year, but you have an opportunity to identify up to $10,000 each year. Kara?
Thanks a lot, Bo. And then the next question here, somebody asked, why would we file a claim if the money is already in the account? Would you explain that?
Yeah, so you would file a claim if you had, so we had a lot of examples about home improvement and adaptive equipment. So the card won't work for those expenses. So you'll have to file a claim for any expense where the card does not work. The card works for medical, dental, and vision providers. So if you have a merchant that is not coded as one of those 3 items, then you will have to submit a manual claim for reimbursement.
Okay, the next question is do I have to send all my check stubs to show if the insurance premium has been taking out my check?
Yes.
Out of my check?
Yes.
Next question is about letter of medical necessity. Can we get one letter from our child's doctor that incurs medical necessity for many things such as respite, ABA therapy, etc.?
Yes, you can get one letter of medical necessity. Make sure that they put on there the time frame. So maybe have the provider put, that it's valid for 1/1/2021 to 12/31/2021, and then list all the items that the letter of medical necessity is valid for.
Somebody asked if the HRA covers applied behavior analysis, ABA.
I can take that as a takeaway, Kara.
Okay, people, and I'm trying to, people want to know why, if we have the card, do they have to submit a letter from a doctor for reimbursement for each use? Can you go through that?
Yep, so we reimburse based on IRS guidelines. And so if there is an item that is not, so when you use your card at a merchant, we still have no way of knowing what you use the card for. So we need, if you use your card, let's say at a vision provider, we would need an itemized statement just to know what the card was used for. Same thing for dental and medical. We just need the back end verification of what the claim actually was for. At that point of when you use your card, you've paid the provider, but we just need verification to confirm what you actually used the card for.
Okay, and then the next question I'm going to give to Bo. It is why can't the Katie Beckett program be handled like family support services? And I'll turn this over to Bo, but funding for the program and Medicaid eligibility and Medicaid reimbursement is a big reason.
Yeah, Kara. You were kind of cutting out, Kara, but I think I heard what you said. Yeah, it really comes down to something I was talking about earlier. With family support, that's all raw state dollars. We have a lot more discretion about what we can do with raw state dollars as opposed to Katie Beckett, which is a federally funded waiver program. We get about 2/3 of the money for this program from the federal government. We do about 1/3 match. And so if anybody knows, dealing with the federal government, there are certain requirements in dealing with the federal bureaucracy, frankly, that we don't always have in a state system. And so the rules are there because of that relationship and because of the funding we get from the federal government.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bo. Next question is, if diapers are a medical necessity, can this be ordered directly from Amazon using the card, or should this be submitted for reimbursement? Hra, do you have insight?
Yes, so for the diapers, you'll have to submit it for reimbursement. Again, the card can work at merchants that are coded as medical, dental, and vision, and Amazon is not coded as that kind of merchant.
Okay, you covered the medical necessity letters and getting and having one that could cover several. Somebody asked, and this is I think in relation to home modifications. It said, what if the contractor used notebook paper and a pen for his quote with no letterhead?
So we would need an official letterhead because we do have to save all our documentation for audits, so we cannot use notebook, paper, and pen.
Okay, question, I do not see where dependent child care is a reimbursable expense. Is it?
It is reimbursable with a letter of medical necessity.
Great. Somebody said, I'm still confused on how to use the card. Can I use the card at the doctor's appointment, or do I have to get that approved before?
Nope, you can use the card at, again, a doctor's offices, dentists, hospitals, urgent cares, vision providers. You can use them for vision merchants. But you will have to provide documentation after you've swiped the card, but you don't need approval prior. You'll just need to provide us the, itemized statement from whatever provider you use the card at.
Somebody asked for a little bit more for clarification on the check stubs. How often do they need to send them? Biweekly, monthly? That's the question.
So if you want to receive reimbursement monthly, you can submit it monthly. If you want to receive it after every paycheck that you get, you can submit it biweekly. It just depends on how you want to get reimbursed for those premiums.
Okay, and then the next question I'm guessing is about home modifications also, but I think this is actually in regards to the service and not necessarily the HR. Part of it is about the HRA, part of it is about the actual service. So I'm going to start with Bo on this one. I was given a list of 3 KB contractors in my area. Do I have to use them, or can I select one of my choice? Bo.
Okay, so I think we may need to differentiate between what we're talking about here and what we might be talking about for home modifications through a traditional provider, because I'm not aware of any bid process for the HRA benefit here. Will you speak to that? You don't require 3 bids or anything like that?
No, we do not, no.
Yeah, that helps. And so if we're talking about home mods, you can do it through the HRA benefit and not have to go through a DIDD funded provider. Or you can choose to do through a DIDD funded provider and do it that way. That's a little bit different, requires a little bit more documentation and bid process, while going through the HRA may be a cleaner option to make that happen. It really depends on your specific case, really what you want and your preference.
Okay. Could I use the card for prescription copays? So this is once again about the pharmacy benefit. Hra.
Yeah, so at this time, the card cannot be used for prescription. We are working to get it set up for that, but we don't have a date on when it will be available. So you will have to submit for reimbursement to get those copays reimbursed back.
All right, thanks, Hra. The next question I'm going to give, I believe, but Bo, please feel free to pass if I'm giving the wrong person. Can I use the card to pay doctor's bills for services before the ISP, but receiving and paying the bill after the ISP?
Okay, so let me clarify before I answer this question. Let me clarify something I said a minute ago about the IDD home mod providers. It's 2 bids, not 3, just to be clear, so everybody knows that. So this question, you want to go ahead and repeat that question, Hra?
Sure. Can I use the card to pay doctor's bills for services before the ISP, but then when I receive and pay the bill after the ISP?
Okay, so it really comes down to when the service is authorized. So when you first meet with your case manager after you enroll into the Katie Beckett program and you talk about services, and you decide you want to put however much money you want to put into the HRA account through PayFlex, then that case manager is going to submit something internally within 3 business days to have that approved. We will submit that over to PayFlex and send that electronically over to them. That's the date that the service can be billed back to. So that's really how it works. And so once the hearers group gets that authorization, that they put that in their computer system as the date of the plan effective date. And so that's the date moving forward where you can bill anything up to that point. Does that make sense?
That was helpful, Bo. Thank you very much. Okay, next question is can I get reimbursed for physical modification and it says AKA a trailer hitch? Hra?
That would be if you have a letter of medical necessity, and then we'll have to the claims area will have to check that. I'll double check on that one as a takeaway.
Okay, and then we did get a couple of questions that were sent in emails from people on the phone, so I want to be able to get to those. I want to know if I can use the HRA account to pay my son's monthly health insurance premium if he has his own individual policy.
So the health insurance premiums are covered, but I will check if it's not through payroll. I'll double check that one.
And then another question that was sent privately, are braces reimbursable?
Yes.
And then is a psychiatrist reimbursable?
Yes.
Okay, and then we got another question in the chat. If we are buying items at a store like diapers, do we need a clean receipt to submit? Meaning, should we just have that one item on there, or sorry, my screen jumped. Can we check out at the store like we normally do, and other times that we don't need, and have other items that we don't need covered? So can there be diapers, and they're just reimbursing for the diapers, but the receipt maybe has like Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Chex Mix on there?
Yes, you can do that. Just when you submit for reimbursement, just indicate the amount of the diapers, and maybe you want to circle the diapers on the receipt, but you don't have to have you don't have to have it as a single purchase. It could be as part of a bigger transaction.
Okay, question about mileage reimbursement. On the website, it states you can receive reimbursement for gas or mileage, but I was told by a PayFlex rep that you can only submit for mileage and not gas.
You can submit for gas as well, so I apologize if the rep gave you incorrect information.
We got an emailed question. I'm using an independent special education tutor that isn't with a company with company letterhead. What documentation do I provide when I submit my claim? I will pay her by check.
For that, can you send that to me in an email, and I'll have to check that with my claims area.
Okay, great. Carly says that she has that email, so we'll make sure to get that to you. Somebody says, I wasn't asked how much I wanted to go on the HSA card. Do I need to declare that? Bo, this seems to be a question about how to put on the card. So do you want to talk about that?
Sure, I'll try. I think I would need to know more about the situation there, whether or not you were just trying to decide whether or not you wanted to go with the HRA for something, but you absolutely will need to identify an amount that you want to go on that card, or I'm sorry, go on the account for Hra's group to really process anything you want paid. So happy to talk more about that individually if you need to. If you want to email me, certainly would prefer we do that, and we'll try to get that taken care of and really answer that question for you.
Okay, and Bo, stay on, because this is going to be a question for you, and this is going to be our last question that we have time to answer. What are the other options to use the Katie Beckett funds other than in an HRA? So for the Part B, there are other options that are available.
Yeah, I mean, there's a list of services. You can do supportive home care through a traditional agency, or you can self-direct that care. There's a health insurance premium assistance benefit that will pay the cost of the child's healthcare premium each month. There is respite, there's transportation, there's assistive equipment, adaptive equipment, assistive device and supplies. There are a couple of other, we have those listed on the website, and we can share that link again. That's generally the types of services. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple of those off the top of my head, but we do have other services that are outside the HRA. Happy to provide that information on the website, or actually on this with the link through this portal. Sorry, WebEx.
Okay, so we are at our time, but I want to make a couple of things let you all know that first of all, we are going to put Katie Beckett IBD website. And make sure that you all have access to this information. It may take us a while, but we'll try to get it within the next 24 to 48 hours on our Katie Beckett site. In the future, we're going to revise our site a little bit more so that there will be eventually a specific PayFlex tab where you can find out all of this information about it. And then the other thing I wanted to say, and this is just to echo what Commissioner said earlier, is if you all have questions and you always feel like you can contact me directly, you can contact us directly. We want to help. And what I would much rather do is try to work to find you a direct answer rather than sometimes information shared from a person to a person to a person can end up, it's the game of telephone, and it doesn't end up being correct. So we want to make sure where we can to be able to answer your guys' questions directly so that we can make sure that we're providing you with the direct information and the most accurate information. And we are committed to doing what we can to make this program successful for you all. Thank you all very, very much. For being on this. As I mentioned, we will get all of this stuff as soon as we can online. And also, if you have any suggestions or questions on any other portions of the program you would like us to have presentations like this PayFlex one on, please let us know. We will definitely, we're always looking for ways to try to be able to answer questions in a way where everyone can hear the answers. So we look forward to hearing more from you and more feedback. And we are hopeful that this program is helping your children grow and thrive. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.